I'm Alan Smith. Welcome to the show. When the majority of us think of growing our food, we tend to think that, well, we plant it, grow it, and harvest it from the ground. However, more and more farmers are adopting a diverse range of alternative practices designed to reduce the adverse environmental consequences of agricultural production. An aeroponics setup like this is a really good example of what I'm talking about. Here you can see rosemary is being grown in a very sustainable way. You see, the plant's roots are misted with a nutrient-rich water. It's an extremely efficient system that will provide high yields with less effort in a limited space. But I have to say, what's really impressive to me about this setup is the crew of budding experts that make it all happen every day.
At a school, you may think of innovative instruction using textbooks and, special curriculum, but that innovative instruction is also found in the horticulture industry.
My name is Gatlin, and we're at the Access Greenhouse today in the hydroponics area.
We grow a variety of plants, herbs, and vegetables.
We grow them and water them, take care of them.
Through the horticulture program, students, depending on their interest level and their ability level, can gain a variety of different skills, from time management to following directions to the plant names and how to care for the plants, the type of plants, annual, perennial, is it a sun-loving plant, shade-loving plant?
I have a Gatlin, the rosemary rocker.
It's a very interesting plant.
And I have a Nick, the basil master. And then I have a micro queen Taylor. They really take ownership in this. It gives them a purpose.
Gives them a stronger sense of identity.
Yes, sir.
Because they've really learned something, they've mastered it.
They've mastered it and they love it.
Not only are they learning business practices, but they're learning a lot about biology and plant sciences. I mean, just look at this plug and the roots coming through there.
Correct. The water comes down and goes to these little emitters, and they just kind of mist the back of the roots.
I see, so it's just shooting a little water. How often?
It goes 2 minutes every hour.
Every hour. And of course this is in the shade, so it's not drying out.
Correct.
in the open air and sun.
And then the water goes back into the tank.
Taking resources and making sure we're using them the best possible way.
Correct.
We've been very lucky that the community has really embraced our horticulture industry. Some customers will come and say, I need Christopher. He always waits on me. He knows what I love and he knows my yard. This week we delivered 10 pounds of basil to Dazikis, Petite and Keat, and then Table 28. These guys have been so phenomenal in, not only coming and purchasing items, but coming and telling our folks our young people who've grown these, man, you've done a great job.
It's been really neat getting to work with these awesome people like Nick and Taylor that take so much pride in what they're doing.
When the clients come in to purchase their herbs, they're right there on point to interact with them and to harvest their herbs for them, and they also do deliveries too.
My goodness.
So they do everything.
Well, Scott, thank you for your dedication and all that you've put into this. It's just awesome, man.
Thank you.
Keep up the great work.
Thank you.
We're taking our gardening to new heights after the break, so don't go away. It's easy to see that how growing on the vertical like this, you can save space and you can increase yield. But when you combine this with hydroponics and some state-of-the-art technology, well, it starts to get really interesting, if not downright amazing. So let's head to Nashville, Tennessee, where farmer Jeffrey Orkin has taken a small warehouse and is producing over 14 tons of produce every year.
is Jeffrey Orkin. I'm the owner of Greener Roots Farm in Nashville, Tennessee. This system allows us to grow about 10 times more product than you could outdoors in the same square footage. When I moved to Nashville in 2007, I worked for an architecture and engineering firm. My background is in landscape architecture, and I lived in downtown Nashville. And sustainability has always been at the forefront of my mind. That led me to hydroponics, which is a very efficient way to grow food indoors. And so after about 16 months of research and development, I decided to move into this 6,000 square foot warehouse with about a 3,000 square foot partition for the growing space. Hydroponics is very good for growing leafy greens just because you can provide all of the accurate nutrient, light, and temperature climate control for those crop species. The reason the LEDs look pink is because plants or leafy green plants photosynthesize under deep blue and red light. The LED technology includes red and blue, which gives you pink. It's the most efficient technology for growing leafy greens, using the least amount of energy, as well as putting off the least amount of heat. Outdoors you have wind, and so we use the fans to help mimic wind, which also helps with transpiration, humidity, temperature control, and all of those things. The benefits of growing hydroponic, basically we use 90% less water than conventional agriculture. These are recirculating water systems, and so we add the water and nutrients to the systems, but we're never dumping the systems. So the plants use the nutrients and water that they need, and then the rest of it stays in the systems. We start all of our seeds in a product called rock wool, which is literally just spun rock, similar to an insulation you would see in a house. From there, we go into our germination station, where the seeds will spend a few days until they start to crack out of their casing. And then we go into a propagation system where they see light for the first time and a weakened nutrient solution. And then they get transferred into the finishing system, which they'll spend anywhere from 3 to 4 weeks to finish out in the full strength nutrients and the full light duration. We're able to grow very consistent, locally grown product 365 days a year. The goal of the business in general, we do want to continue to expand the brand and continue to be local people's go-to brand for year-round grown crops.
Preheat the oven. There's a savory cheesecake recipe coming up next. Just look at all of this gorgeous basil. Doesn't it look healthy? If you're like me, you love the flavor of basil and try to integrate it into every possible meal you can. We explore the science of hydroponic farming next. You don't want to miss this. So how about a little history lesson? Most of us think hydroponics is sort of a new and modern thing, but actually, many believe that some of the first hydroponics were seen in the ancient hanging gardens of Babylon. Now for the latest in hydroponics, let's head to Dallas, Texas, and meet up with my good friend, Farmer Tyler.
DIY hydroponics does not need to be intimidating. It can give you the opportunity to build some amazing things like this hydroponic Ferris wheel where the water weighs the buckets and the weight of the water is what's cycling this wheel. No motors, just one water pump. Once you understand some of the principles behind a successful hydroponic system, you can pretty much design whatever you want. Some of the fundamental concepts in hydroponics are making sure your plant has water, oxygen in the root zone, and nutrients. So some plants have a huge oxygen demand in their root system. If you've ever had a potted tomato plant and you've overwatered it, you'll actually see the plant starts to wilt. It doesn't have oxygen in the root zone. It's actually drowning. And without oxygen, it can't actively move the water up to its leaves. The same thing will happen in hydroponics. You have a plant pretty much just literally sitting in water. So if you don't add a lot of aeration to the water, adding some bubbles or making sure you're using a substrate that drains quickly so you can get air to the roots, you'll have the same problems. Hydroponics not only is pretty cool, it's easy. Wicking beds. At the bottom is a reservoir that holds water and nutrients. Up top is a potting mix or a hydroponic substrate. In this case, it is coconut husk. The idea is the cocoa will wick up the water from the reservoir below, providing it to the plant roots. The benefits are very infrequent waterings. In soil, your roots are constantly searching around to find all of the building blocks they need to build themselves, including water. In hydroponics, all of the nutrients are dissolved in that water and constantly accessible to the plant. So there's nothing stopping it from growing as fast as it can. It's really an accessible way for people that are not having success with traditional methods or are having success with traditional methods and want to see how fast they can push their crop. You can shave almost 50% of the growth time away from what you'd be seeing outdoors in the soil. This is a Okinawan sweet potato growing in peat and perlite. Instead of harvesting the whole potato plant and opening it all up, instead I've just harvested a couple at a time so it doesn't weaken the plant. It is super sweet. I cook it on the grill, I make baked potatoes, and after I harvest, I just put a little bit of dirt, fill in the hole, and I'll come back in a little while and I'll have more potatoes. The new frontier is learning how we can control every aspect of the environment. By reducing the temperature of the nutrient solution of the water the plant's in, you can actually make it condense its sugars more so it has a higher nutrient density. By giving it UV light, I can actually increase the anthocyanin and vitamin C content in the crop. So there's just so many little ways to manipulate to increase the nutrient density so we're growing a healthier crop that also looks great.
Up next, an urban farm teaches their community how to grow their own food with a focus on garlic. You gotta take a look at this. This is a worm habitat. They're producing secretions that the Access kids are using to create a worm tea, which makes their plants grow like you cannot believe. Pretty ingenious, huh? Our next visit focuses on an urban farm in St. Louis, where they're dedicated to teaching people how to grow food by using sustainable and organic practices.
I I'd been growing food here for quite some time as just a regular gardener. And in about 2005, I hit upon a notion that we should do something with this abandoned land here in the city. So we started these urban farm projects, creating soil, sequestering carbon, and trying to create a more sustainable society. The original motherland of garlic is actually centered in the steppe region of Asia. Within the greater part of 8,000 years, garlic disseminated to almost every continent on the planet except for Antarctica. Wherever people went, garlic went. I originally started growing garlic because I bought a farm and I toured the farmer's market and found out who was growing what. And nobody was growing garlic, so I figured I may as well. Well, this is a garlic scape that we have here. This is a common false flower that's produced off the garlic plant. This is what's often called the umbro, and this coating that you see here, this paperish coating, is called a spathe. Garlic is an asexual plant. It no longer produces sexually. The danger of that is that there won't be enough diversity in the plant if a pathogen was to come in and try to hurt it. So we actually have to take apart the scape flower and remove the bulbils to allow the flower to be tricked into producing seed sexually again. If the bulbils are left remaining, they drain out too much energy and the flower can't reproduce. We peel this back, and in there you can begin to see the little flower petals. We'll actually take a pen knife and we remove the little bulbils inside this false flower head. Garlic hybrids are not like normal plant hybrids. If you plant a corn hybrid, it will revert to either parent plant. Garlic, on the other hand, doesn't follow those rules, because if you create a hybrid, you can either plant these bulbils, which are clones, or the cloves themselves, and actually produce a duplicate of that hybrid. And so there you go. But here in the next couple of days, these guys will be hit with some insect traffic here, and hopefully we'll have some true seed off of them. We grow about 205 varieties of garlic. We created this variety to not only be drought resistant, but also to be pest resistant. And you can see some of the gorgeous heads on these guys right now. And I thought I had a niche crop. In reality, what I found was a sustainable farm product that can not only help make small farmers stronger, but it allows them to grow year-round.
Want to learn more? Visit PAllenSmith.com for delicious recipes, garden tips, blog posts, and our online store. Certainly times are changing, and there's no better example of it in how we grow our food. Today we're growing it in smaller space, more of it, and it's easier on the planet and even better for us. And what inspires me about today's show is getting out here with these kids from the Access School and seeing all the things they're growing and what they're learning. It's truly inspirational. I hope you found today's show as enjoyable as I have. Until next time, I'm Alan Smith.